questions would be interrelated in some sense. While Little magazine, when you started out, was an independent magazine, and you had no advertising at all, but you had a very strong panel of heavyweights on the board of the magazine. There was Amartya Sen, Hari Vinton Sir, and so many others. So wasn't that itself a huge advantage for the magazine? And even though you didn't have advertising, that must have contributed towards building a kind of strong foundation for the magazine in terms of making it a sustainable venture to cover the costs to pay for contributors?
No, we had, we still do have, Vinton sir wasn't on our board, but he's been a contributor and a supporter. We've had a lot of support from very well-known intellectuals, which makes us feel extremely wealthy, that's true, but doesn't bring in a penny. You also need to pay your bills, and that comes from advertising, and it comes from people. We don't take donations, because in India donations is sort of a kind of iffy area, so we want subscriptions, and we want advertising, whatever is clear cut, you know, and so yes, it helps to have a very strong board, but not financially.
So how did you actually sustain? Was it merely, only on the sale of the magazine? The rate cost of the magazine, I think you mentioned, it was around 100 rupees in 2002. And what is it presently? What does it cost now?
It is still 100 rupees if it's a single issue, but usually we bring out double issues like the one that I've just passed on globalization. That costs 150. We're thinking of increasing it to 200. But it's not on sales. It's any magazine is sustained not on the sales of magazine or publication, a newspaper. Not sustained on the sales of the publication. It comes from advertising revenue. So we do take ads, but we are very careful about the ads that we take. And that's the. But we don't have too many ads either. So a lot of the money actually comes from our pocket. Mine.
One of the online I checked the latest issue. It's on security, and there's a poem there by Leza, and it laments the death of the victims, men, women, children, babies of the Naxal movement. He is today a symbol of peace and a negotiation between the government and the Naxalite movement. But let us say, prior to his coming into this kind of reconciliatory mode, would you have published his poetry?
Very interesting question. I don't know. The security issue that you see on the web, by the way, and it's quite old, we haven't been able to update it. I don't know why, but we just haven't. But after that, we've had some other issues, impunity. Well, we did publish Dr. Vinayak Sen in our impunity issue when he was, he was out on bail. He had just come out. So his name had not been cleared, it still hasn't been, but in that sense. We do publish other Naxalites like Santosh Rana, and who's the head of the CPI-ML, one faction of it. The other faction of the CPI-ML, which is led by Pankor, that also, Pankor has also written for us. So it is, if you know, in Gaddar's case also we probably would have published him, because it depends on what kind of so-called criminal you are. I would not ever publish what's his name, Shobraj. Charles Chopra or somebody like that. But I would publish good articles or good poetry by revolutionaries who may be, according to our law, termed as not quite legit.
So there is constantly a kind of a risk of being charged with sedition or treason. There's always that borderline that you are skirting.
Treading, yeah. I think we just leave it to the to just basic common sense. If the government doesn't have that common sense, then unfortunately we are all victims of it. But there's no reason to actually be so scared not to publish things that we think are important. Because that is what all these nonsensical charges actually lead to. They muzzle creativity and free speech in ways that are not clearly seen. You know, bringing a sedition charge against one person is one thing. I wouldn't, for example, publish the cartoons that Asim Trivedi. I would not publish those cartoons because they do not appeal to me. I think they have nothing to actually that I would like to share with people. At the same time, of course, as a matter of principle, you object to sedition. You know, so it is just common sense and good taste that you go by. I wouldn't publish something vulgar, even if it's really vulgar, and we haven't. We've returned several pieces by very well-known authors because of vulgarity. Now that is my personal problem. Little magazines do publish groundbreaking stories which have what I might consider vulgar. But that's a choice that you make. You know, would you want it in my magazine? No. I would want to see it published certainly somewhere. And good luck to you. You know, it's that kind of a choice that you make.
In terms of, you spoke of the e-version, the online version and the print version. Have you felt the advantages of having a print version of the Little Magazine in some tangible form? Because we are working now on the Tamil online version before we decide to take on a print version. So could you elaborate a little more on what can be gained through a print version which cannot be done through an online version only in terms of penetration of other classes of society?
You know, we started with the print magazine because I'm a print person. I've worked in the print media for years and years. So and I love the touch, the feel, the smell of books. So I wanted that, you know. But now, because everything is, because the internet has become a part of our lives much more intimately than it was 12 years ago. Maybe for a new magazine, bringing out a print edition is not that necessary. Given the kind of, you know, I live in Delhi where there's this Punjabi saying, "Kitho ayo, kitho gayo," meaning how much comes in, how much goes out. So you have to balance how much you make and how much you put into it and exactly spend. So from that point of view, maybe just an e-magazine is fine because you would probably cater in any case to a converted kind of audience, or people you may not know, but who actually subscribe to your point of view and to the way of thinking largely, obviously not to the T, but largely. So they will come to you anyway on the internet, which is so much easier to access. Whereas with the print, we have subscribers in remote villages, and it is so difficult to send them magazines, and they're very unhappy because the magazine doesn't get to them. We send it, it comes back, then we send it back courier, and couriers don't deliver in remote villages. So it is the practical problems are immense. Whereas with an internet magazine, maybe you won't face it. Again, if the internet connection is bad, you'll face the same problems. So those are things that maybe after a few years when the internet situation in India is even better than now, then I guess it would make sense to bring out the French bias.
So we are heading towards a time perhaps where we have online magazines, websites like 3QD, 3 Quarks Daily. I don't think they have a print version at all. So it's purely an online magazine, and yet they have millions of followers all over the world. And at the same time, if your intention is to reach to a population or a section of the society which lives in the villages, you have to have a print edition. So both are required maybe for different areas of sections of society.